Okay, we're going to continue our discussion on informative speaking, and we had left off on strategies for communicating your information in informative speaking, and we talked about familiar and relevant examples, the importance of that, and also strategies. And I think I kind of referenced this earlier that transitions and signposts are also equally important and can be used as a strategy to either use be redundant or repetitive. It's also a strategy to get us to focus on something when you change from one idea to the next. That those are ways that are important that you want to utilize as you write and develop your speech. Okay, let's review those organization patterns. We talked about organizing your speech, and we talked about different patterns. Basically, it was like, how do you structure your speech? How do you put all of your information together? We talked about the spatial pattern, which is basically that pattern that you use if you're going to reference an event. You're going to give a speech about an event or a location. It's about how you reference things in physical proximity to each other. So it's very related very much to the topic, this particular pattern. It is topic relevant and topic dependent. A temporal or chronological type of speech. Chronological refers to time. So we're talking about sequence, something that's going to have an order to it. Often that's if you're going to talk about history, or you're going to talk about someone's life, or you're going to reference and you're going to talk about something that happened, an experience that happened. That has a chronology to it. So there's where an event, you could do it as a chronology as well. Let's say you're going to talk about a shooting that happened in Florida, right? When the Parkland shooting, you're going to talk about that in terms of chronology as a social issue. Okay. Narrative. The narrative pattern is basically giving your speech as if you're telling a story. That's very engaging if you're able to do that. It would be definitely dependent upon something that is able to be told as a story. So it would be about either a person or event or a time in history. You could tell it as a story. Yeah, you could tell it. Definitely, you could tell your maybe you tell about a relationship, or you give a speech about a relationship between people, and you give that as a story. These patterns also, oftentimes students ask me this. When we're talking about a pattern, we're talking about the overall structure of your speech. You wouldn't use the pattern in different places in the speech. The pattern is the whole body of the speech. Okay? This is really important for you to understand. You might use pieces of these things, but I'm basically talking about the whole structure of your speech. These patterns relate directly to informative speaking because the way they're set up is just a way to deliver information as opposed to setting up your speech to persuade. Cause and effect, that also is not, again, you can be persuasive that, but you don't need to be. If you're giving a speech about pollution, you could talk about the causes of pollution, what causes pollution, and the effects on people's health, on the planet, on whatever you want to talk about. Categorical, that's that basic speech where you have three independent ideas that can be switched around, but they have to be of equal weight and equal value. And those are like your three main ideas. That's a categorical speech. Okay, before I go there. So this is basically the patterns that you're looking at as you're getting ready to come to develop your first informative speech about the social issue. How you approach it is going to be up to you. It's open. You will have to be using research. You'll have to cite research within it. And once I will be going over that assignment in detail on what's expected on that assignment. But these are basic ways that you can structure your speech. Okay, here's a couple samples of different speeches that have been given by different students. I've pulled these off of YouTube. They have different Different values. The night terror speech, the student does very well with using PowerPoints, as well as the causes of homelessness. That student does pretty well with using the PowerPoint slide with that. We'll talk more about how you're going to present your speech, and I will hopefully have you actually use PowerPoint slides as you do your speech. You'll notice I'm using Screencast-O-Matic, which is optional for you to use as well in giving your speeches, and you can easily access a PowerPoint presentation as you give your speech. The key, though, is that we always want to be able to see you and that we're not looking at your PowerPoint. Remember, you're not giving a lecture, you're giving a speech. Rain Man, How to Be a Gangsta, is a what's the word I want? It's humorous. It's a humorous. God, I can't even think of the word right now. But he's a young man in college who is kind of making fun of gangster life. Now, hopefully that doesn't offend people, because actually I take being in a gang very seriously personally. I know it's serious business and nothing to make fun of. However, the value of this speech is he's funny. And you can see actually that there is some respect for what he's talking about, but he does make fun of it. And he uses presentation aids, because it's how to be a gangster if you watch this video. He uses presentation aids really well. So those are your 3 examples of informed speeches. I'm going to end this lecture right now, and I will be seeing you later on in another presentation, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.